A loss to Stevenage at the weekend has left us just outside the playoffs. How many times have we said that on this podcast this season over the last few months? Desperate performance, desperate result, left many people feeling that our season could well be over given the games that we've still got to play. However, we are back once again in your ears with an episode of the Tilehurst podcast.
And in your faces if you're a YouTube person, but also in your ears, always in your ears, paying homage to the original form of podcasting, because now every podcast also has to be video.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wonder how many people actually watch the pod in video form.
I think that too, because I'm a YouTube fiend. I have YouTube Premium and I use it far too much. You should see my weekly watch time things. But it is very much a thing that I leave on in the background, and I think podcasts are kind of in that vibe. But it just has become over the last couple of years, I genuinely find it hard to name a podcast that doesn't have a video component to it now. So.
Do you not think people look at us and think it's quite boring just looking at two faces?
Yes.
Last week I was eating Doritos and someone basically said, "Please stop eating." So
the stuff that gets me down is that after about half an hour of talking, you need water or whatever, or your mouth just starts to get quite making noises, So anyway, I hope this has been a super fun, super sensitive way for us to start the podcast for you today, listeners. If you'd like me to make some more mouth sounds near the mic, just let me know. And if you're not going to let Ben eat Doritos, Quavers on the pod, maybe?
Who eats Quavers? I'm not a child.
Quavers, now see, this is the thing. The Americans are obsessed with cheese crisps, like cheese potato chips. They don't really do meat potato chips, like smoky bacon at all. But it is my opinion that the humble Quaver is superior to every single cheese chip that is available in the United States of America. And you may have different opinions about the cheese chips that are available in the UK, obviously. But to me, the humble Quaver...
Cheese chips is a completely different ballpark.
You're right. Yeah, now we're talking about chucking a bunch of cheddar on top of some nice McCain. So, now I'm hungry.
Before we start, a small story.
Before we start eating.
I was running the line, which for people who don't know, that means being a line person on Saturday at Central Park in Reading. If you're from Reading, Central Park, terrible pitches, awful council run pitches, but a lot of activity for youth football on Saturday and I guess Sunday. And I was on rotation to do it for my son's team. And after the game, the opposition linesman. Actually, before I do that, the ref said that I was the best linesman he's had all season.
Well, it's nice. Did he give you a lollipop when you left as well?
Just said, you're the best line I've had all season. I went, thank you, appreciate it.
Actually, mate, to be honest, I had to make a joke, obviously, because the referee gave you a lollipop. But I will say, good for you for volunteering to do reffing stuff, because it is important. And it's one of the things I always tell the kids when I'm coaching is that they're not allowed to talk to the ref at all. They're not allowed to talk about the ref until they get in their car on the way home. Say what you like once you get there, but while you're at the game, it is as important to me that you are respectful to the ref, that you are skilled with your feet.
So anyway, this is not the story, this is part of the story. So the main part of the story was that the opposition linesman to the team that my son's team were playing, their dad came up to me after the game and said, "Oh, are you Ben from the Tilehurst then?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I recognise your voice." I was like, probably being a bit vocal being a linesman, wasn't I? And his name is Adam. He listens to the podcast when he walks his dog. He said he's absolutely sick of your XG shit, Ross. So feedback for the listeners.
Thanks for that.
He
can't
listen to it when he starts talking about XG, but he was very complimentary about what we do in general, and we talked about the game because obviously there's a couple of hours before we kicked off against Stevenage. I stupidly said I thought we'd get a result. We didn't. But listen, Adam, really, it always blows my mind when and I'm sounding like I'm blowing Brad Pitt or something walking around Reading, but generally a lot of people now start to recognise me, and Sim will testify this because when I went to the last game with him, there was a lot of people that recognise me, and I guess the voice is quite unique. But it always blows my mind when people come up and say, "Are you So you Ben,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
we
yeah.
had that kind of dialogue, and I've always been really honest about this podcast and said that I never really anticipate people listening to it. It's just a conversation with with my mate Ross really about Reading Football Club. So
Right.
really appreciate all the comments that we get, whether that's face to face, whether that's positive, negative, whether that's stuff in mailbags or YouTube or Twitter or whatever. So
Yeah.
just really thankful for Adam and his dog for listening to us, but also you guys for listening to what we have to say. Really, I don't know.
We're always happy to
It's quite
chat.
weird. It's quite weird.
No, I know what you mean. It is a little odd. That's why I hide on this side of the Atlantic. But yeah, like if you ever see us in public, feel free to say hello, obviously, and tell us that we don't know what we're talking about and that XG is a strange, urbane nightmare designed by the stat Boffins to confuse and ruin the game.
It's such a good word,
Yeah,
Boffins.
good one. That's from about when I left the UK. They were still using Boffins, I think, and now it's all Love Island and I don't even know what.
I've completely. I just remember
We should get into it, shouldn't we? Yeah. Who are we
being in
thanking for
secondary
today?
school and just calling people Boffins. Which says more about me than them, to be honest. Anyway, thank you as always to ZZ Said Films.
Art Boffins. Art Boffins, really, really good. Thank you as always to ZCZ Films, best art boffins around. They know a lot. There's a really good podcast as well that you can check out on the ZCZ Films website. Thank you to the Amazons, Music Boffins, really, really good at music. And thank you for the theme song always. Thank you always. And then to our partners, what are they, Ben? Brewery Boffins, exactly.
Siren Brewery. I don't have a beer tonight. I've got one more left in the fridge, which I'm saving for the weekend, which
Fair.
I think is quite a high percentage.
Nice.
Double IPA. So I'm going to have that at the weekend because I've only got one left. Not a hint saying that I need more beer or anything, but we're thankful to those guys. That's just really funny when he said Art Boffins. Anyway. Yeah. Let's get into our football players who were definitely not Boffins of the game on Saturday on this episode of the Tilehurst podcast. Right, to Ross. Absolute disaster. From top to bottom. Absolute disaster. 85th minute. It keeps happening time and again, doesn't it? I felt that we probably would get a result. And by result, I mean a positive result, because saying you're going to get a result out of a football game is obvious. But I felt that we had enough to be able to keep momentum going, given the gravity and magnitude of the game. But it was just absolute crap, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't really great. I do want to acknowledge that, like, a few weeks ago, we obviously had like a late winner as well. So, and I think we've also talked about how the away form this season, like Reading, I think are in the top 10 for away results and points in the league this year. So that's not, like the primary, like issue here, but this was a really, really poor performance. What was depressing is that, yesterday, so it's Tuesday today, and yesterday, obviously, like the reviews of the Arsenal-Man City Carabao Cup final came in, and everyone is talking about how Arsenal just couldn't create anything, weren't any kind of threat going forward at all. Well, I hate to start with some XG chat, but who put up less XG than Arsenal this weekend? Reading did. And Reading failed to have a single shot in the second half as well.
Just going to point to that, Adam, if you want to throw your phone in the bush, do that now, mate. Because I've tried. I made it clear.
He did.
Still talking about it.
You did your best. You made it clear what the consequences were. And yeah, I'm sorry, Adam. But yeah, no, just like an awful performance. And the second half, in particular, I think was really quite poor. We've seen some kind of like first halves that have actually produced a few decent chances in the last few weeks. Even if they're not producing like a ton of shots, like they can get down into, like an opponent's final third. But this was just really, really poor, and especially after Randall Williams had to go off, then Reading just completely lost their shape. There was, like I said, 0 shots in the second half whatsoever, and the primary thing I could just kind of see you have to point to the physical effort a little bit as well, because if you look at the duels statistics, Reading won about 40% of their duels. So, 6 out of 10 balls in 50-50 situations are falling to Stevenage. Like, you're not going to have a very good day. But in any case here, like, they just didn't look to me like they really knew where they were meant to be in pretty much every situation. Obviously, Stevenage were happy to go up in the air, and normally, that's fine for certain members of our defence, and you'll be, shocked to hear that Paudie O'Connor had an okay day, because that is what he's there to do, is stop the aerial bombardment. But yeah, when there's just like absolutely nothing going forward, eventually that endless pressure, is going to tell, and tell it did, unfortunately. But yeah, at times in the last kind of year, we've talked about midfield balance, and I thought this was just the worst example of no midfield balance what we've seen all season. Do you think we're playing, like, when Will Keane starts, do you think it is just a 4-4-2, or do you think there's any kind of like dynamism to that?
Well, look, Will Keane is a separate subject matter altogether. I feel that it's been a disaster having him at the football club. I don't, he's been injured. He probably hasn't done what he said he was going to do on the tin. Like, it's just not worked.
What do you think, though? That's a great question. What does the Will Keane tin say?
Scoring goals.
Score some goals. And that's the thing. It's difficult to know, isn't it? Because he's had 2 good halves for Reading where he scored a goal, but hasn't looked fit for a lot of it.
He hasn't. He looks old. He looks tired. He just doesn't.
I love the way you're going in proper 2-footed. You've got like the first thing you said with regards to him, like, because I agree he was really poor and hasn't been great so far. But I just love that you were like, was a disaster, and then like the first thing was like, yeah, he's old, and I'm like, I love it. I'm enjoying it, Ben. Carry on.
I'm sick of this season. Really, I've had enough. I really have. Yeah. Like it's. I'm not trying to be dramatic, because if you look at other clubs in the league and they're really struggling, and it could be a heck of a lot worse. I understand.
Yeah.
That. But I'm just tired. I'm tired from the last few seasons. We haven't kicked on. I'm not saying that that's a major issue, but it's just, watching that on Saturday was really quite sobering. And I'm still not sold on Liam at all. I really don't understand some of the games that he watches and the comments he comes out with. You summed it up the other week. He's very, very plain. He's very, very safe. I don't particularly. I like the individuals in this squad, but I don't like the overall makeup of the squad. I'm just tired from it. Like, I've enjoyed nothing from this season. Yeah. The only thing I have enjoyed is the cups. I really like the cups.
Okay, the Jack Marriott cups are good, and I think actually Jack Marriott is probably something else that you would say you've enjoyed this season, right?
Yeah. He's been
when he's been around.
Des Williams, I think, has been all right. I think Savage has obviously had an all right season. Beyond that, I'm not really fussed on any of the players.
Yeah, and you're not as sold on Kamari Doyle as I am.
No. I just think that game, they are. It was as close to a 6-pointer as you're going to get for us at this stage of the season, given where Stevenage were, given our away form, given how we've been picking up results. And second half, Stevenage weren't really playing anybody. It's a wonder it took them that long to score a goal, quite frankly. And I'm not. People go, oh, you're out of order, whatever. But I just don't. There is nothing. We've got a game on Saturday. There is absolutely nothing that I'm buzzing about going into that game on Saturday. Nothing.
Yeah, I think the thing that's difficult is that there are certain things now that are starting to happen that feel like the questions we were asking under Noel Hunt, and some of those questions that we were asking back in October have kind of surfaced this week, and 6 months later, and we're kind of less than when we're chatting about this again, and there are 2 kind of main things that I'm talking about here. One is when things go so horrendously wrong for Reading like they did in this game, and the second half is probably our worst half of football we've played all season, is that on Liam or is that on the players? Because he's been he talked a lot about the transfer window before January, and then obviously was supported in that transfer window. We picked up, again, what I've said, I think were some good signings. And he is not wrong to point out that there are injuries to some of those signings. So Ben Ward is out. Hayden Roberts, who really seemed to have reinvigorated that kind of left side of our attack, he's been out for a little while too. Daniel Chirwa has been gone for quite a while now, and he was one of the more dynamic players in our attack. So I don't think that it is at all unfair to point out that there have been some significant injuries, and if you could pick players that they would happen to that would probably hurt Reading's ability to build up through the thirds more, I don't think you could. I mean, other than Wing and Kamari Doyle, they would be the other two. Like, if Wing got injured, I wouldn't have much hope for the rest of the season, obviously. But the thing that bothers me is that just like now that you've got this particular like set of players, there should be some ability to kind of like create a consistent and coherent attacking like plan with them. And earlier in the season, we kind of had this like box midfield thing that Liam would orient around all the time. And whether we were playing in the 4-2-3-1 or the 3-4-2-1, we would always orient around the box midfield. So you have kind of like two attacking midfielders, normally one of the wingers drifting inside and one of the midfielders, normally Kamari Doyle, pushing up. And then you would have what has mostly been like the double pivot sitting back. That would be Savage and Wing earlier in the season. And again, like we had issues with that, but it was always something that the team could kind of like readjust themselves around. So when it's time to get your shape again, we say, okay, we get back into this shape. We know what the midfield are doing, and then we orient around them depending on where the ball is on the pitch at this point. But during this game against Stevenage, there just really didn't seem to be a sense of anyone knowing where they were meant to be. And I do think it was more of a kind of 4-4-2 than anything in this. If you look at the heat map, you can see Will Keane mostly on the right side. But him and Kelvin obviously became very, very frustrated as the game went on. And yeah, it just... But I think that's partially their own making. You know, Will Keane won one aerial duel all day. He was in 9 of them. So it just kind of tells you the level to which he's just not really up to it in terms of like bringing that ball down. And if he's not up to it in terms of bringing the ball down, is Kelvin? Not really. And so why are we playing over the top in that kind of situation, right? Like that's where you say, okay, we're not going to be able to do that. The opposition want to go up in the air as well. I, as a manager, now have to game plan around getting that ball on the floor and making sure that my players who, like playing with the ball on the floor can actually do that there. Obviously, I again, like Kelvin and Will Keane have both scored goals with their head earlier in this season. So I'm not saying that like the ball can't ever go into the air, but I'm saying that trying to progress it from the defensive third into the middle third aerially to two strikers who are not good at taking the ball down aerially was obviously never going to work. And that's where I'm like, come on, Liam, like you've got 45 minutes in this half. I understand Randell has gone off and that's kind of thrown your original plan into a blender, but there's pragmatism as part of being a manager. Like that's part of your job. Like you have to work with what you have, and what you have is both the squad for the whole season, but the squad and the team within each individual game. You got to work with what you've got. You got to adjust. So yeah, a little bit worrying.
I mean, worrying is a key word there. I mean, after the game, Liam Richardson admitted it had been a tough afternoon. He said, I thought we were more than competitive in the first half. I don't think that's true, is it?
It was a kind of typical Reading first half away performance under Liam where they try and stay in the game, I feel like.
That's not competitive, though. That's just hanging on, isn't it?
There's always like managers are always going to be happy with their players showing effort, I feel like. But yes, I totally understand what you mean. I agree with you.
We had a lot of final third entries and a lot of box entries. Sounds like you. The second half we were poor with the balance of our team, with Randall Williams and Gerald Dorset coming off. That probably slowed us down a little bit. But then you've got to give credit to Stevenage, and once we were in that moment, we struggled. None of that makes sense. Give credit to Steve. Like, all he does is give credit to the opposing team.
Quick thing there. Have you noticed on like when you get that like quick stats hit thing that pops up on like the EFL now, or like a bunch of different things? You tend to get the possession, the number of shots, and like all of that kind of stuff down there. Have you noticed that touches in the opposition box has started to be included quite a lot? It's like people have worked out. I think that's the new like fancy stat XG style that people really like this year. That's kind of like the moving into the mainstream like stat world is touches in the opposition box and understanding that correlates with how many chances that you can actually create. The second, he is right to identify that the first and second halves were different. Like I talked about Jules and that being like an indication of like how physically dominant in the game you were. In the first half, it was pretty much 50-50 on Jules. It was 38-37 for Stevenage. In the second half, it was 38-18 for Stevenage. So you can tell that something happened, during the I don't know, during the halftime team talk or whatever it was. You wonder what he's saying. You do wonder what he's saying at halftime sometimes because it is a little bit concerning when we put in a consistent number of second halves that aren't quite up to the standards of even what we were doing in the first half. Liam might tell you that's down to fitness, but again, I think work with what you have and find a way to succeed. Again, he's gotten us into like what, 8th place now, not quite 6th place. So certainly he's made us like, he's turned us into a team that stays in games more and is a better reflection of like its actual squad. But in terms of like creating a coherent and consistent attack, it's still, that worries you.
I haven't really got anything else to say on Stevenage, have you?
No, that's fine. I think you said we've got a meaty mailbag. And no, I'm not saying it's fine that you don't have anything to say. I'm just saying it's fine.
It's just funny the way you said it. For stats fans, we're 8th. We're on 58 points. Mathematically, we're still more than capable of getting in the playoffs. But,
and I think we'll still be there, like in the shout, like with like 2 or 3 weeks to go, by the way. Like, I think we will pick up enough points. Like, we can quickly play the game right now, actually, of like okay, so we have 7 games left. You get 3 seconds to answer all of these: win, loss, or draw. Home against Wigan. Go.
No, 3
seconds. No, 3 seconds. Home against Wigan.
What about it?
Win, loss, or draw?
I have to say win.
Win, okay. Away against Huddersfield, win, loss, or draw? I'd say win that one. Huddersfield. Okay, fair. Home against Lincoln City, best team in the league. Loss, yeah, me too. I agree. Away to Doncaster, win.
Yeah, going to have to be a win.
Yeah.
Last away game of the season.
What was that, sorry? Blackpool, the last game of the season again, because we played Blackpool.
The last away game.
No, that is Rotherham. So, hang on. Rotherham, away.
Win.
Yeah, I think so too. There's one in between those 2 away games. Home to Cardiff City. I think we'll beat Cardiff.
Yeah, it's my dad's birthday as well. We normally do well.
And then last day of the season to a possibly needing to win to stay in the league, Blackpool at home.
Horrible game. Horrible game.
It's not a fun game.
I think that becomes a draw. I think it goes down to the last 15 minutes of the season.
So you've only said 1 loss in those last 7. You've said 4 wins and 2 draws, which would give us 14 points, which would take us to a final score of 72 points. So Stevenage just need to basically, hit 4 wins in their final 8 games, and that'll be us, stoned out of the playoffs, unfortunately. And I would say that you and I are both predicting a win at home to the league lead, or not the league leaders, but to Cardiff. Looking at this now and realizing that we have to play both Cardiff and Lincoln in the final 7 games that we have, it could be interesting. Like, I don't think that Cardiff are anything massively special. I think they're kind of like a version of us, just with better players, basically. Lincoln, I think, are quite significantly better than us. So yeah, be interesting to see how it shakes out. I do think we'll still be in the hunt like in a few weeks' time. But yeah, just to give you an idea here, we've said win, draw, loss, win, win, win. So the poor results are coming earlier in our expected here, and we'll see how that moves forward. But yeah, tough to know. Very, very tough to know. Fun to be talking about the playoffs this late in the season again, though.
Yeah. So. Well, look, we'll see what happens. We're going to head into the mailbag. There's a few bits and bobs that we can go over and talk about. We'll take a short break. You'll have a little soundbite, and then we'll come back with some things. Right. Welcome back to episode 456. Is that right?
Yeah. 456. 456.
Do you want to start with the YouTube comments?
Sure.
Do you want to go through those first?
Yeah, all right. So I am making videos in the woods at the moment for Hearts of Pine reasons. And I just suddenly started yapping about Reading as well. And I was kind of just like asking that question that I asked earlier in this pod, which is, when we have a poor performance, do you perceive that more as something that the manager or the players are responsible? And I think the real answer is that both things come into it, in some way. But yeah, just like a couple of people with opinions on that. Mark's with some numbers then just says it's confusing him so much he can't imagine the players don't want it. They're just not being set up properly, which is kind of what I was just saying about how I think in that second half especially, just not playing to the players' strengths necessarily. There's Josh Buck here, who says, I think the style of play is dire, but results have hidden that, because how can we moan when we're winning? But when we lose, it really does show itself. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and this game in Stevenage was a blip and just caused by injuries. And again, there's that injuries kind of thing, which, Liam is definitely going to start talking about more over the next few weeks, if results do start to go a little bit south. I think you'll hear about that quite a lot. It does still remind me of the Yap Stam season in that, results are difficult to complain about, but there is still clear issues on the field that would then manifest in the season that came later. And I think that's kind of our concern, is that, will he be able to kick on after this, or will those kind of issues that are already present continue to manifest? And Peter Martyr. Peter Martyr is over on YouTube now. So that's cool. He's hanging out over here. He says, honestly, I can't think of many games where I thought we've played really well. I might be imagining it, but I feel we play better when we go on the front foot and try to win the ball higher up the pitch. I understand that in a lot of games we are looking to hit teams on the break, but we concede chances and goals so much. I think it's a more risky strategy. Let's not get into a conversation about entertaining football. I know we have somehow not lost a lot under Richardson, but I'm not sure he's getting the best out of what is on paper a talented squad. And I think that's a fair comment from Peter. How many even halves can you remember that we performed really well in? I think the Plymouth first half is an obvious one. But yeah, beyond that, are there any other obvious halves you can remember?
So. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because you only ever focus on the next game. You don't really remember what happened in the previous one. I think realistically, there hasn't been many performances that have been positive overall. I know we picked up positive results, but there's very few games I've gone, we were really good in that. Obviously the Plymouth away game, as you said, arguably probably the Plymouth at home game recently was one of the better performances, and we ended up, not picking up maximum points.
Yeah.
So I think there is an overall issue with how we have been playing. I think we've made that pretty clear. I don't know what changes. I really don't, apart from the personnel.
What's your favourite game of the season? So you can, I'm trying to think. I'm looking back over some of them now. We were very good against Blackpool on the road. We won 3-0. And that was kind of one of Liam's first really, really good performances. But yeah, it has just been a little bit of a It's been a tricky season for many reasons. Even though we are sitting just outside, I think Plymouth has to be my favorite game of the season. Even though obviously the second half was a little bit more worrying than the rest of it. That's all your YouTube comments for today. Do you want to go onto whatever the big platform is called these days?
The big dog, the big platform.
The big dog.
The big lights of the big city. Some of my questions, it's just rants.
Okay. That's good. That's fine.
I've got to try and pick the bones out of this because a lot of it's just statements.
That's where that's where I was just got to with the YouTube comments. But carry on.
Ian Law Smith. I don't think I've ever come across you, Ian, actually.
No, hello, Ian.
Whilst we've been struck down with injuries, you have to question both the tactics and the positions in which players are asked to play. Also, you have to question what does Liam Richardson say to players at half-time. Too many poor second-half performances, that there has to be a reason for that.
Yeah, there's been like chat about like what does Liam say in the in like the dressing room at halftime, like what is his team talk. And I do sometimes wonder what managers do with their team talks at halftime now. Like how much can you change like individually with each player? How much are you kind of like, do you want to kind of like just keep them G'd up, just like make sure that they are, ready to go again at the start of the second half? I think that like it's kind of rare to see Reading come out of the traps flying in the second half at all under Liam. It doesn't really happen. And again, I don't really know like enough about what exactly it is that's being said inside those dressing rooms. I think they are quite deliberately some of the most locked down spaces in this very visible football world now. Like you still can't go into the locker rooms and hear what the coaches are saying, at halftime that often. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a problem that you've identified, that we don't come out of the halftime break looking as ready to go as we went into it oftentimes. And I oftentimes feel like that kind of period between like the 30 and 40th minute is one of Reading's better periods in a match. So they put out a better period in a match and then they tend to come out quite flat afterwards. I think in this particular case, it was probably a case of Liam coming up with some sort of solution to the Randall Williams, issue, and then not hugely communicating that to the team just because it looked like players were confused about where they needed to be. But yeah, just odd. There's that word injuries again, though.
Keeps coming up.
Yeah. Is it an injury crisis?
Well, at this point, I mean, what determines a crisis? I guess it's the percentage of players you've got based on the percentage of players that would play that can't play.
I think that like people will be screaming Jack Marriott at their podcast, and that's a completely fair thing to say. Something I'll bring up quickly because I think it's quite interesting. I went and had a look at the League One top scorers earlier this week, and the vast majority of them are playing for teams that are having horrid seasons. So there's Don Ballard, Leyton Orient are not having a good season at all. Kyle Wootton is the outlier here. He's having a good season with Stockport. Obviously, Jack Marriott, Reading have had a pretty good season. In terms of the results, I suppose. But then you've got Jaden Wareham, tied third with Jack Marriott. You've got Ashley Fletcher. And so Exeter and Blackpool are obviously having horrible seasons. Tully for Plymouth, they're starting to kick back up now. But then you've got McGoldrick for Barnsley, Beasley for Burton. And it just kind of made me think, maybe having that one-star striker, that go-to guy, isn't as much of a big deal in football as it used to be. And I think that kind of like tactically, comes and goes. And I think there's other factors going on with this, for sure. But I just think it's kind of interesting that in the top five, the top five goal scorers in League One this year, 3 of the 5 are playing for teams that are not having good seasons at all. So yes, we've missed Jack Marriott, but I think it just goes to show further that, you have to create a system that can create chances. Because, if you then plug Jack Marriott into that system, maybe he's even better than what we've seen this year. But I think what we've seen from Jack Marriott this year is him making the best of what's come to him, and really having, even by his standards, an exceptional season in terms of getting a bit lucky in the ball going in the net. So yeah, just thought it was kind of interesting to note that, big star strikers that score 20 goals a season, they're nice, but they don't lead to a winning team necessarily anymore.
I've just realised there's loads of statements because whoever does the socials for us, asked the question.
Yeah, well, that's why then. What was the question?
Well, actually, did you ask the question?
Oh yeah, I did. I made it up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're still on that.
So the question that we asked, or you asked, or someone asked was, when #Reading FC have a poor performance, where do you tend to assign blame? More on the players or on the manager?
#Reading.
#Reading. As follows. Stephen Noakes, when we lose, it's Liam's fault, and when we win, it's in spite of him.
That's fair.
Probably where I'm at, actually, Stephen.
He does have the Andy Murray treatment a little bit, when he loses, he's Scottish, and when he wins, he's British. Yeah.
Russ Bevan, manager on Saturday for sure. Tactics or lack of, so wrong. Should have played our game, not theirs, and kept it on the ground. Also, in general, we need another transfer window yet to be more effective. Morgs, it depends on the nature of the poor performance. If it's simple mistakes from the players, you expect under 18s not to make them. It's on them. If it's poor game management, especially in the dying minutes, it's absolutely on Richardson. I feel blaming the manager is too easy. Paul Dawson, the manager's response to games points to him more than the players. Yeah, I mean, that was a baffling comment made after Saturday. Absolutely bizarre.
Wow. Post-match Boffin.
James Wolfe simply.
Can I wait really quick? Who was that last one?
Just finish what I'm saying for once.
I know, but you just read out a really good one. Let him compose himself. No, you just read out. Who was the person you just read out previously? They said it's too easy to blame the manager.
Oh, Morg said, I feel blaming the manager is too easy.
Okay, I do agree with that. I do agree that the manager is always the person that you go to criticize, right? Because what's going on with Spurs right now with Igor Tudor? Obviously, he's not doing a great job. But to me, that is so obviously a bunch of players who have never been in a relegation fight before, who do not know how to turn on that part of their game, that kind of grind out, they just can't turn that mentality on, basically. And I do think that comes down to the manager. But in that particular situation, it looks to me like things that are just broken internally at the club. But I was watching The Damned United this morning while I was doing my work, because great movie. And I love a bit of Jim Broadbent. And the scene in which he is the Derby chairman, you can tell decides to sack Brian Clough is great, because he talks about how Brian Clough has this idea of himself the club was nothing before I came in. I gave you all of your success. And Jim Broadbent's character turns it around on him and says, "You're just the manager, mate. Everyone else, the players, they all get their names sung and all this kind of stuff. I can fire you whenever I want." And obviously, when he did get fired, there was his resignation was accepted. There was an uproar, but yeah, I just think it's kind of funny. The manager is the guy that you blame oftentimes for sporting performance not being there. Another department to kind of mention there that's I think worth mentioning, because we talked about injuries a bunch of times, the medical staff, and this is certainly not trying to dig anyone out whatsoever. I don't know anything about medical stuff, but it is worth noting that Liam's talked about the fitness levels a lot, and that players have gotten injured quite a lot this year, and we think that there has been a new addition to the strength and conditioning department recently as well. So yeah, I just a kind of thing that I'm keeping an eye on, I suppose, that maybe Liam had some thoughts about the previous strength and conditioning setup. All right, now you can read out the next one. Sorry.
I feel like my laptop is about to die, so I might have to come out of this and turn to my phone.
Okay.
Should I do that now?
Go for it. Have you not got the charger?
No, I left it at work. It's cool.
Oh, I see. Okay. No, keep going as long as you can with this, and then just when you die, we'll switch over then. Okay.
Fine.
Go.
You're gonna have to do some editing on this one, I tell you.
I know.
Okay, so that was Paul Dawson. Morg, sorry. Paul Dawson said the manager's response to games points to him more than the players. James Wolfe simply says more on the players. Mark Stokes, when it's a one-off the players, when it's every single game, regardless of result, it's firmly on the manager and the setup. I agree.
Yeah.
Then we just got some questions, really.
All right, let's do it.
Chris Scott, who you were incredibly rude to the other week.
Do one.
I completely missed out on until he messaged me. We keep being told to wait for pre-season for Liam to implement his style. The style we're seeing is what he delivered at Wigan and Rotherham. All their fans say the football was a tough watch. It won't change. Shake hands and part ways at the end of May for me.
I think this is a LinkedIn Liam thing to a certain degree, right? Where he does remind me a little bit of like a CEO, where it's always like, oh, the next big thing is always 2 to 3 months away. You just wait 2 to 3 months time from now, you'll see this incredible thing happening. Like he does talk a little bit in that Silicon Valley, again, LinkedIn kind of way. Like, and I think that people have picked up on the fact that there's always something on the horizon for Liam. And I think that it's good to you take every game as it comes and you're only looking at the next game, but he is always looking when we have this and when we have this and when we have this, so I, for one, am very much looking forward to how AGI is going to transform Reading's starting lineup.
Yeah. I don't know what the owners will do either. I really don't know, because there's so much talk of people saying, we've had other bids and people are interested in buying the club. You can see all the clubs in our ballpark really losing money, like Wycombe, massively losing money at the moment. Oxford United look like they're financially in trouble. Not that I literally care about that at all, but similar sort of club, similar sort of size in terms of where we're at. So,
yeah,
they're obviously putting a lot of their own money in to keep the club afloat. But how long can that last for? We have to have success in the league and go up a division to start getting more money through the door, because people will come back. And I think with this manager, regardless of where we are in the table and the fact we're still sort of fighting for playoffs, people are getting turned off by a start. A lot of people left because of Dai Young. I understand that. A lot of people haven't come back because of Liam Richardson and the style of football that he plays. So it's very, very difficult, very, very difficult decision to make.
No, I think that's fair, because the danger is that this is a season where things don't end up going right in 2 to 3, months' time. And it doesn't go right in the 26-27 season if we don't get promoted this season. And then we have that issue, whereby we just have to basically start again in October or November, getting rid of a manager, spending the entire season then, saying, oh, well, this isn't quite the squad for this, manager. But I think that's where, I just want to see the recruitment a little bit more thought out, whereby it's okay, we're not always going to play this one structure, this one style, but we are always going to play with this particular intent. We're always going to be trying to win the ball in the attacking third. We're going to, try and play through the thirds rather than going over the top. And that's, I think, that's a little bit lacking right now. That makes it hard for Reading fans to see what the future is. And if there's no future beyond October, then it feels like there's no need to keep Liam around. But I just don't think that the club will think like that, because Liam has had, success in terms of the actual results on the field. All right, listeners, very quick note. If Ben does sound slightly potato-esque in your ears for the last 15 minutes here, blame Tilehurst and its power supply. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got to the end of explaining some nonsense. I have an email that I've only just seen, but it's an important email. Would you like me to read it out?
Yeah.
And when I say read it out, I mean not read it out at all, and just go straight to the most important part. So what you will find in Elendo de Tilehurst is a whole bunch of animals this week. So our Madrid correspondent Alex Lovell, has shared some more animals or some more words with us, and this week it's animals. So we're gonna go with the easy one to start off with, Ben. See if you can guess these Spanish words. Okay, the first one relevant to Reading is leon.
Yeah, lion.
That's right. That is a sheep. Yeah, it's a lion. An oveja. What's that? What's an oveja? You actually already. I've already said it.
Sheep.
That's a sheep. That's right. Yeah. See, that one's a sheep. See, you knew it. There you go.
It's just a guess.
It's fine. What is a mariposa?
Parrot.
That's actually pretty close. That's not too bad. It's a butterfly. Also signed for Reading from Watford in the 2010s. So that's good. Anyway, just wanted to share some Spanish words because we're getting them all out there. Alex does also say something quite funny. He says, "Can we establish the footballing term of the Dorset sandwich? That's where he'll do something bad, which is the bread, and then he'll do something good or reasonable, followed by something else good or reasonable, which is the filling." And then he'll revert to bad again. The Dorset sandwich. That's the term that he wants to go with.
What's in the sandwich that's good?
Yeah, no. I'm just saying he says that's how Dorset plays football. Is that he does good stuff sandwiched by absolute nonsense, basically, which is, I think, a pretty fair assessment of Jarrell.
Yeah,
I mean, go ahead.
I not sold on him at all, really.
The longer, I mean, like, I could be wrong by next year, but the longer the season goes on with Jarrell, I'm just like, I don't think that he'll be at Reading for ages and ages, but I do think that he will have a 10-year career in the EFL. Like, I think that enough managers will look at him and see something they can work with and go like, yeah, okay. And especially because he's played like left back and center back this year. But again, I agree, he does make mistakes. So... Anything else in Twitter, or because you're on your phone, can't tell?
I can't read it. Yeah, there might have been another question. I don't know.
Look,
we'll have to come back to it next week. Sorry if you didn't get it read out, but
yeah, we can't find it in Potato World,
exactly.
So we won't be going there. Well, we do have a quiz. So should we get into that?
We need a name. Are we going to call this Reading Recall?
You called it Quiz Wang, I thought.
Well, yeah, and then I went Reading Wang. Should we just call it Reading Recall?
Reading Recall. That's not too bad. I think let's give it one more week. Let's see if the listeners have any names for it, because I'm kind of interested now. And if I can let someone else, do my work for me, I don't like AI. So outsourcing it to the listeners is the best possible way to do that. So let us know, what would you like us to name our quiz? Whatever it is, we're going to go into it now. All right, you go. Actually, you go. I'm just talking all over you.
It's your segment.
I don't know what it feels weird. It shit. Yeah, I don't. All right, whatever. Okay. Away from the wonderful world of transfers this week. Okay. Not €1 you will have to consider being changed hands. Anyway, we are going to go all the way back in time to the 2006-2007 season. I was 12 years old, and I got my first ever home Reading shirt this season after the 106 season, which is very embarrassing. My first ever. Well, actually, yeah, I think I got that game. I think I got that shirt at a Charlton game that particular season. So, but the quiz for you today, and there are 11 different answers, is which 11 teams did Reading record a victory against in the 2006-2007 season? Now, you will have three, outs again, three wrong answers. You can basically just start naming teams that were in the 2006-2007 Premier League with Reading.
That's probably more difficult for me. I was 20. I was 20.
Okay. So you were drinking, and so that's you probably can't remember these.
Okay. Straight off the bat, it's going to be Middlesbrough.
That is correct. Won our first game of the season. Didn't we go down 2-0 and we came back to win 3-2?
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah,
unreal.
Mark Viduka.
I would say it was the pinnacle. It was just, it's up there.
Mark Viduka is my memory from that game as well, and just what a great striker that he was. I remember
good team managed by Gareth Southgate as well.
Yeah, fun Middlesbrough team. That one. Anyway, you've got that one. You've got 10 more to go.
Man City, we beat them.
Correct. We beat Man City twice, 1-0 at home, 2-0 on the road.
The home game, they would dread. It's quite difficult for people of a certain generation to understand how. Man City came down to League One, what was essentially League One, and we played them. And I think it was the first season we were at the Manchester. Yeah. But Man City in the Premier League were at that time just appalling. They had so many players that were just they were the football equivalent of a shrug.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, kind of like some of those late post Sam Allardyce Bolton teams. Yeah. All right, you've got 2.
Sheffield United, Sulky Hyun.
Correct. We beat Sheffield United twice that season. One of those games, the very funny 3-1 win at home, whereby, do you remember Keith Gillespie came onto the pitch as a substitute?
Got sent off straight away.
Got sent off within 30 seconds. Yeah. One of the funniest things that's ever happened in a Reading game.
We beat Spurs. They were wearing an awful brown-coloured kit.
Correct. That is one of my... that's probably my key memory of Kevin Doyle, is that game. Winning that one. All right, so you've got 4 of them.
West Ham 6-0.
Correct. We won 6-0. And that's where the Sulky Hyun memories come from for me. Not the 6-0 win, but the 1-0 win at Upton Park, at the Berlin ground, whatever you call it.
Berlin.
That's what they used to call it. They used to call it the Berlin ground.
Berlin.
And Berlin.
we definitely beat Charlton.
Correct. That was a game that I was at, and I bought my first ever Reading shirt at.
Were they managed by Phil Parkinson then?
I think they were managed by Alan Kirbishley then.
Right, fine, okay.
I could be
manager.
Wrong. Yeah,
it all went wrong from when he got sacked or they removed him.
I remember there being like a 10-year period in which every single time a team in the bottom half of the Premier League would let go of their manager, Alan Kirbishley's name would always be in the top 3.
Yeah, he was unreal.
He clearly has no interest in being a football manager anymore.
Great bloke as well, really great bloke.
All right, so you only need 5 more.
I need 5 more.
Yeah, I'll tell you which ones you've got. You've got Middlesbrough, City, Sheffield United, West Ham, Spurs, and Charlton. You need 5 more.
Newcastle?
Correct. That's very good because I don't remember this.
Is that
game.
Michael Owen? Michael Owen played for Newcastle.
I think so. This is the last win of the season for Reading in that season. I will check and see if Michael Owen played in that game, but you keep guessing. You've got 4 more to get. And yes, Michael Owen did start in that game. Oh,
I would say Aston Villa we beat them.
Correct.
I think we did. Was that February time? Was that 2-0? Steve said that?
I shouldn't have asked someone old. That's the problem.
The thing is, I can remember those games. I couldn't tell you the games I've been to this season.
Dude, you're spot on though. Like that was February 2007. We beat Aston Villa 2-0. You've got 3 more to go. Can you get the last 3?
I want to say Wigan because at some point we always beat Wigan.
3-2 win against Wigan in January 2007. A goal from Emil Heskey for Wigan. Beautiful stuff. Leroy Lita with what would turn out to be the winner in the 88th minute.
How many have I got to get now?
2 more.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. So we didn't beat any of the big teams. I mean, Arsenal wiped the floor with us home and away.
Yeah, I remember us playing pretty well against Chelsea and Man United in one of the games.
Yeah, the Chelsea game was the Peter Cech incident, and then John Terry and everyone else was in goal. God, who else was in?
It's tough, isn't it? I'm gonna have to start doing countdowns soon. You can
Bolton.
Very good. 1-0 win against Bolton on the 2nd of December 2006. A goal from Kevin Doyle. Who else in the 33rd minute? You've got 1 more to get. I
want to say Blackburn, but I don't know if they were in the league at that time.
Do you want to say Blackburn? Do you want to say Blackburn?
No, I don't. I don't remember us playing Blackburn in that season.
Okay, well,
I don't know. How many have I got to get now?
you've got to get one, and you've got 3 guesses. Do you want to just make 3 guesses in 30 seconds? You were. I'm gonna go ahead.
I mean, I'm trying to think of teams that would. I've said Newcastle. It wouldn't be Liverpool.
I'll tell you one more time just to give you a last bit of. All right, you're gonna give me an answer within 5 seconds of me reading this out. You've got Middlesbrough, Man City, Sheffield United, West Ham, Spurs, Charlton, Bolton, Wigan, Aston Villa, and Newcastle. And the final team is 5, 4, 3,
Fulham.
He's done it in one. He's done it in one, guys, without any mistakes today. Without any mistakes whatsoever.
That's frightening. I don't know but again, if you ask me for the second season,
yeah,
obviously we didn't win
we were a lot worse. Yeah,
that season. We beat Liverpool. That was incredible.
Yeah. Blackburn were in the league.
They were.
Yes, they were. And I
Of
wondered.
course they were, because that was the last game of the season, wasn't it?
Correct. That was what I was. Yeah. Benny McCarthy is a very.
But we didn't beat him, did we? We didn't beat him at home, obviously. Nope. Otherwise, it would be on that list. Did we draw at home or did we lose?
We drew at home 3-3. That is correct. The lovely list of goal scorers for Blackburn. That was a lovely Premier League, Barclays Premier League team, by the way. The goal scorers for Blackburn that day: Benny McCarthy, David Bentley, and Matt Derbyshire. Oh, love that. That's great, isn't it?
David Bentley was ripping it up in fantasy that season as well.
Yeah, he always wanted. I mean, both him and Derbyshire, right? Both kind of like what if players, if they had gone over there. Benny McCarthy.
Morton Gants Pedersen, was he in the team?
He would have been in that team. Yeah, he would have been in that team. Benny McCarthy is one of my favourite Premier League strikers ever too. From that era with like Benjani and just some fantastic African strikers. Obviously, Drogba came through in that era.
The only other one I was thinking of was Everton, but I feel like we lost both games against Everton.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I've stopped looking at the list now. I've got to be honest with you, but
Did we lose both games against Everton? Because obviously they would have been in there because they've.
Did we lose the first game against Everton? Yes, we did. 2-0 at home with goals.
And we lost the away game as well, didn't we?
We tied the away game, which that was very American of me. Sorry, Jolyon Lescott with an own goal for Reading. That
nearly signed for us as well, Jolyon Lescott.
Memory lane. Maybe that's what this feature should be called. But yeah, get your names in. Get your names in.
That's good. That is good. That I like that. I did well there. Well played, me.
I got to keep giving you. Do you know the term? And this is an endearing term, not like me being mean. Do you know the term old head?
No.
It comes from the hip hop world, whereby like if you're an old head, you're someone that likes like Tupac and like Biggie and like all these guys. I'm sure like I sound like an idiot to people who actually know rap, but it just means like you're someone that appreciates kind of like older kind of stuff. You're definitely a Reading old head. In regards, relation to some of our listeners. So it's good. We're educating them about these seasons that happened in their past. There are people working for the club that don't remember this season, so we have to, remind them that it did happen, that Brynjar Gunnarsson is a thing. And yeah, so, but good job. Get your names in, listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that. I can't believe I got Fulham. Mm-hmm. I was trying to think who else. We beat 11 teams, so there's going to be.
I was hoping that you would just say Blackburn so I could give you the wrong answer, but you didn't. You kept it perfect.
Well, I don't know why I forgot that we played Blackburn last game of the season, because that was like a massive thing. We were like, a point away from European football.
I can tell you right now. I was
just trying to get down the list of like who's in the Premier League now, who do we beat at that point?
Yeah,
and it's quite difficult as well because obviously with the second season. Stoke was another one I was going to mention, but I don't know. I can't remember if they were in the league at that time.
Stoke were not in this league. I believe you are correct that they came up. I think Charlton went down. Sheffield United went down this season.
So we played Stoke the next season, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And then the next season we started the season with that 0-0 draw at Man U.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, my word. So maybe we'll do that next week. But yeah, get your names in.
That's good. Yeah, nice pod. bar the technical difficulties.
Sorry, potato pod.
Yeah, we play an old flame on Saturday, Wigan, who we just mentioned.
Oh yeah.
20 years on, and we're toiling away. I mean, they're toiling away at the bottom of the table.
Emil Heskey's still lacing them up for them, of course.
Still lace them up. Yeah, still lace them up.
Still find them.
They're in all right form, to be fair, despite their league position. They've managed to get 11 points out of the last 6 games, so it's not horrific. I think they're 5th in the form table over the last 6 games.
Yeah.
So they come to us in form, obviously recently. I say recently, but have changed their manager of late. But we have to do the job ourselves. It's not been called off. We thought we felt in the group it might be called off because of international call-ups, but that's not been the case. The game goes ahead. We're crunch time, crunch end of the season now. In the dog days of this League One campaign, we can do what we can. Put performances aside, we've got to pick up points to try and nick, 5th or 6th place in the table. We said that time and again over the pod over the last few weeks. Still all to play for, incredibly, even though we are not the best footballing side in the bag at all.
Do you want a last second Emil Heskey update?
Yeah, go on.
Do you want to know what he's doing now? He is the current head of football development for the Leicester City women.
Is it?
Yeah, isn't that cool? His youth career was at Leicester City too. He's from Leicester, so it's just a really cool job. And the reason I brought that up was partially for Emil Heskey reasons, but partially because I can briefly go to my last plug of the day, which is just that unfortunately the Reading women did lose in their League Cup semi-final to AFC Portchester. But again, check out Ed Jackson Norris's Diary of a Football Manager. I think it's a really good Instagram account, and I think it's just really interesting to hear from a coach, just kind of how they think about the game and how they're thinking about the whole week's worth of preparation going into it. But there's still some games left this season. So this group of girls have really put in a fantastic effort for the club and really stepped up. So, yeah, definitely see if you can get down there before the end of the year. Tickets on readingfcwomen.co.uk.
We'll be back for the next episode of the Tilehurst podcast. It'll be early next week.
Sometime next week
after the Wigan game. We're kind of in that routine of doing Saturday to Saturday by the Easter weekend, where it's a little bit distorted in terms of the games that are coming up. So we will do what we always do and give you semi-average coverage of the games. Look, we'll be doing what we do. Love
you
to the family.
An update on Emil Heskey's dad?
Yeah, go on.
He ran security at nightclubs in Leicester. A bouncer, a big man.
He still does that.
Yeah, no surprise that he produced a lad as big as Emil.
It's a great name, though, isn't it, Emil?
Great name, and one of his middle names is Ivanhoe, which is the name of a knight. So yes, wonderful name. Anyway, love to your mother, love to the Heskies.
We will see you next week on episode 457. This has been 456. Hope you've enjoyed it. Look after yourselves and come on, you ones.